for the kid. Can I get a touch of that?
No.
I just want to feel the material.
All right.
I'm a big
Don't
material
sip any.
guy. I'm not going to sip. What do you got, Celsius?
Yeah.
I don't drink that kind of caffeine. Okay.
Yes, you couldn't handle it.
Okay. Dishwasher safe on that puppy or no?
It sure is. It's the only kind of, it's the only, I mean, not with me around. You know what I'm saying? No dishwasher's safe when I get my hands on it, baby.
Sheesh. I don't really understand it, but.
Okay. I have so much to debrief you on.
Oh, I'm
obviously.
so in. Let's go. Masters, Took. Masters
Terrific.
week. Just let it be known.
Great
Tigers
shout-out.
back, baby. Should have worn my red. God damn it, dude. I miss every cool opportunity I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, that's something about you. That's a big thing about you, actually. Okay. Sorry, just checking my camera. All right.
You look gorgeous today.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I'm glowing.
Some people might call you Ithaca. Because Ithaca is gorgeous. You ever seen those like bumper stickers?
No.
Ithaca is gorgeous.
That's a real inside baseball type of thing. You saw one bumper sticker.
No. Look,
Seen at least three.
Ithaca is gorgeous.
I'm not
And-
Googling Ithaca is gorgeous.
Kyle, switch the camera 4.
No, it's
Put
just
up
Google up
Ithaca is
there.
gorgeous.
No, we're not doing that. Sorry, brother. So,
Sorry, brother. Did you get that reference?
no.
God damn it. That was so good. All right, keep going.
So, Los Angeles, went there for the first
Yes,
time.
dude.
We talked about it.
would.
We talked about it on the podcast and
On the Zoomy Zoom.
on the Zoom, and that was before I had done anything. I literally got off the plane.
You were a fresh
into
young
the podcast
18-year-old
feed.
walking into Hollywood, and now
Exactly, and
who
now
knows what's happened to you now that
I've
you're
been
back.
to one too many Diddy parties,
Yeah.
and it's all over for me. My asshole's like the Grand Canyon. Allegedly, my asshole's like the Grand Canyon.
That's inappropriate.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
fine. So Burbank Airport, disgusting. I mean, just terrible. Like it feels like a haunted elementary school. It feels like an abandoned place. But I had a good time there. So after I get off the Zoom with you, I'm like, well, I could do a bunch of editing and go to sleep, or I could try to make the most of my time in Los Angeles, especially because I was feeling so nervous about the conference. I got that quarter zip on, which isn't really my style.
You were zipped
and I'm
up
like,
to the gills.
very nervous about, I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm a little nervous. So I'm like, you know what? Let's see so the hotel has like a web page that has what, things to do in Los Angeles or whatever. So there was a Clippers game that night, and it was in like 2 hours. I'm like, well, you know what? I'll see how far the arena is from the hotel and see if I feel like Ubering over there or whatever. So I put I put Crypto.com arena into my GPS. Comes up, it says it's 800 feet away. So I literally look out the window, and people are walking down the street in Clippers jerseys, like getting ready to go. So I'm like, fuck it, okay, let's see what's going on. So I pull up. There's some tickets available. There's one ticket that is courtside. So it's not like you're on the court, but you're
like first row back.
Yeah, you're first row back. So you're not even in like the stadium seats. You're in like fold outs that they put out. So it's still technically courtside or whatever. So I'm like, all right, let's take a look at this bad boy. It's just one sitting in the middle, like on its own. Let's see what's up. So I hit it, and it's $500. It's like an hour before game time. I'm like, man, am I going to pull the trigger? I close and reopen the webpage maybe 6 times, and I'm like, you know what? Again, I'm in Los Angeles, by myself. If this whole conference goes bad, at least I can have one cool experience. So I get the ticket, and it comes with, it's like, oh, you need to get a wristband at the stadium. So I'm like, a wristband for what? So I go, and I'm like, going up to the ushers. So I walk over to the stadium. It's so cool. I don't have to cross like any intersections or anything. I literally just walk right over there. There's the Kobe statue. They've got they have a Gretzky statue. Shaq, Elgin Baylor, just all these guys. So I walk in and I'm asking everybody, like, where do I go? And they keep saying to me, like, oh, go to the next person, go to the next person.
Yep.
So I walk down to, like, the court, and the woman is like, have you ever sat down here before? And I'm like, absolutely not. Look at me. I've got my Fantastic Four, It's Clobbering Time t-shirt on. I got this hat on. I'm like, no, absolutely not. She's like, okay, you sit over there. I'm like, oh, what about this wristband? Do I need a wristband? She's like, yeah, go to one of these guys in the red jacket. She points like to the tunnel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, okay. So I walk into the tunnel, and there's a guy with a red jacket. I'm like, is this wristband? And he goes, I can't really understand what he's saying, but he just is like motioning me into the tunnel. So I'm like, okay, I'm going into the tunnel. So now I'm in the tunnel, Matthew. I'm behind the scenes. This is my backlot tour. And there's like these weird, translucent like cloth curtains coming down from the ceiling, blocking off this area. And they all have like the Lexus logo on them. So I'm like, is this wristbands? And the guy goes, yeah, this is like the Lexus Club. So they give me like this cloth wristband that says Lexus all over it, and they're like, go ahead. So I walk inside, and they've got sushi, there's a meat carving station, there's like all this crazy stuff, there's 2 bars, there's hot dogs, there's popcorn, there's nachos, and it's you don't have to pay for any of it. It's all included in that courtside ticket, which is fucking insane. So I put a couple of glizzies in my pockets, and I get ready to go.
Pocket glizzies.
It's time to like start the game. I don't want to miss it. So I go to my seat, and I kind of scooch in, and I'm sitting between this mom and her son, and then these 2 people that I can really only describe as like the quintessential like Los Angeles couple. Like this woman is like, she's gorgeous, but it's in that way of like she probably was pretty ugly in high school, but now she's like got money, so she looks slamming. She's wearing like half a t-shirt. Her husband looks like a handsome version of Turtle from Entourage. I swear to, he looks so much like Turtle.
Did you ask if it was Turtle?
No, because I knew it wasn't. It wasn't Jeremy Ferrara or whatever the heck his name is. I could spot that because I was on the lookout for him the second I touched down.
Well, you're on the lookout for celebs
in that state. Well, Jerry Ferrara. Specifically, it was the one. I was like, if I'm going to see any celebrity, it's going to be Jerry. So I, start talking to them throughout the game. We're laughing and stuff. Oh my God, dude, here's the best part. So they're getting the people going, like the game's about to start. They're shooting off fireworks inside the building. Fires are coming out of the baskets. It's crazy. And, it's time for the national anthem. I stand up. I take my hat off.
Off, yep.
Yeah. And I'm looking around. I'm like, there's nobody, like, there's no singer. Matthew, spotlight comes down. It's this big dude in a T-shirt with an alto saxophone. And he played the whole national anthem as just a saxophone solo. It was the coolest shit I've ever seen. So now, me and Jerry Ferrara are losing it. I'm like, dude, I never do shit like this. This is awesome. He's like, man, me neither. But I'm like, you have Prada sneakers on. Yeah. And so when I was talking to him later, what he meant was he's never done it for a Clippers game, but he goes to like Lakers games there all the time or whatever. So he and his wife, they were both personal injury attorneys. They were so nice. They were really like they
should have took a spill. Somebody spills water on the court.
He would have had me. He would have had me. But he was a super nice guy because he was like, dude, you gotta like get as much free stuff as you can. Like you have to, because me, I'm just happy to be there. So I'm like, wow, you're right, Jerry Ferrara. I should do something. So they have like waitresses.
Yeah.
Courtside. So you don't even have to get up. And the waitresses bring you things for free. You don't have to pay for that stuff. So there's like a menu. I still have it. I kept it. It says the Courtside, Crypto.com Courtside Arena menu. And she was super nice. And so long story short, I'm sitting courtside at the Clippers game. I'm sitting courtside at the Clippers game drinking a Cabernet. I mean, just just dying laughing to myself because I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever done.
Vacation Andy. That's Vacation
Andy, baby. So, I got Jerry Ferrara to giggle a couple times. He and his wife were hanging out with me in the Lexus thing. Like I said, they were super, super nice. So that was great. And I get home that night, turn on Monty Python and the Holy Grail, kind of drift off to sleep, and I'm like, this is phenomenal. So next day I wake up, I know I've got work to do, and there's really nothing going on until 2 o'clock. There's like an orientation for the podcast convention, which even at this point, as I'm telling the story, I forgot that that's why I was there. So I'm like, okay, if I can get this much editing done, and my plan was, of course, I wanted to find like a cool comic book store, see what was going on. So there was one that was pretty close. It was in downtown Los Angeles, but it was closed because it was a Tuesday. So I'm like, dang. And I'm looking through the list on Google Maps of comic book stores, and one pops up, Golden Apple Comics. And I know you probably don't know this, but
idea.
If there is a famous comic book store, it's that one.
It's Golden Apple.
When Image Comics became a thing, which we could get into that, but it's
Not
basically all of Marvel's top artistic talent of the 90s left and started their own company.
Gotcha.
So when that started, they all did signings there. Robert Kirkman, who created The Walking Dead and Invincible, who wrote both those comics, he had a pull folder there before he was famous. Like, this is, I mean, to a guy like me, this is hallowed ground, basically.
Yeah. Graceland. That's
Graceland. It's Graceland. For me, it's Graceland. So I
saw the ghost of Stanley.
So I get an Uber, and I'll tell you what, I'm nervous just to go in there. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to Golden Apple Comics right now. And the Uber drops me off, and it's just this little spot. And I walk in, and I'm talking with, I thought the guys who worked there were going to adopt me because we were talking comics like so much. And one of the things I bought, it was only $20, but it's the first appearance of Amanda Waller, who that character. She's the black lady in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So it's the first appearance.
CIA agent.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's the first appearance of her is in this like kind of little known comic, and again, it's really underpriced these days. It's only $20, so I picked that up. So we start talking about that. So they know I'm a guy who knows his stuff. So I get that. I'm like, do you have anything signed by Jeff Johns, who's like my favorite comic book writer? And they're like, yeah, we got these 2 things up here, and they weren't like the coolest books or whatever, but they were 9.8 graded, signed by him. One pretty cool thing. So I like, fuck it, it's $100.
Oh yeah, you take that all.
Come on. So I'm like, so the guy literally asked me, he's like, what's the occasion? He's like, I'm at Golden Apple Comics, dude. Like I'm fucking here. This is huge for me. So that, I mean,
what was his response to that?
He was like, that's awesome, dude. He's like, that's so cool. How do you know about us? And I was like, just the thousands of YouTube videos that I've watched about comic books. He's like, all right, man. So everybody who worked there was so cool. That was fun. So now I Uber. I get there just in time to make orientation. And, again, I wasn't necessarily feling too confident walking into this. Very nerve-wracking. Exactly.
You're there alone too.
Exactly. And that's a thing, Matthew, is like, I'm sure everybody does this. I know that I do, but like sometimes you'll play out scenarios in your head, and you never really know what kind of person you're going to be in these situations until you actually get in them. And one of those situations for me is like going to someplace like just a new city, or be it for a convention or otherwise, and like meeting new people and trying to make like friends and stuff, and like be cool with everybody. And I'm like, this is almost like a test. Like, are you the Andrew Canada who you've always kind of wanted to be, who you've always thought maybe you could be, or are you not? And if you're not, hey, it's okay, dude. Like, but let's see what's going on. Matthew, when I tell you I made a splash at Podcast Movement, it is like I could have met Amy Poehler if I wanted to. You know what I'm saying?
You went VIP the whole week, baby?
Frankly, because it was so great, because everybody's so nice, and it was really cool, but like, brother, I was moving and shaking, talking to everybody. People could not get enough of Andrew Canada at this place. And they were all very gracious, and it was very cool. So first night's this mixer. I end up meeting two of my favorite people of all time. These two guys, Connor and Mike. Connor's from Queens. Mike is from Los Angeles. So, I end up we end up drinking whatever that whole night. I get dinner with them the next night. After the seminars, there's like this iHeartRadio party. So we go to that. We're hanging out. Also, free drinks there. So we're downing margaritas. Connor and I are. And so we meet up with this guy who I had met at the orientation, actually, this podcaster out of Washington, D.C., and he's like, yeah, first thing I did when I got to Los Angeles was hit the dispensary. It's what I always do. So Connor and I are like, what are we still doing here? Let's go. Matthew, I smoked weed in front of the Kobe statue outside of the Crypto.com arena. I mean, truly, who does this, dude? It's the great. So then we go to like this other bar, and we stay out until like 2 o'clock. We're having an absolute blast. I mean, the next day, because I don't really drink too much, so I was so hungover. Like, if I was any more hungover, Michael Jackson would be dangling me over a balcony. You know what I'm saying? So, but we had a blast that day, that night. Everything, conference is basically shut down. So I say goodbye to the fellas and everything. Hit up who I need to hit up, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's fucking Macaulay Culkin this shit. Let's Home Alone 2, baby. Let's get a little room service. I'm talking pepperoni pizza. I'm talking chocolate chip cookie plate, baby. A Coca-Cola in a real glass with ice. And I'm watching, my D&D shows or whatever. And absolutely better. Oh, also, so I'm there, and I'm like, man, I'm having, I'm sitting courtside at this Clippers game. I'm smoking weed for the Kobe statue. Like, I'm having. I go to Golden Apple. I'm thinking to myself, I am having the most LA experience, like what I always thought like a fake version of it would be, except for one thing. So the next day, I'm at one of the panels, one of the sessions, and it's the producers of the podcast Bad Friends, and also this dude Nadav, who I got to talk to for a little bit, but he produced like the Your Mom's House stuff for years and years and years. He's doing his own thing now. So it was awesome to meet him. We're sitting talking, and there's this woman next to me who I'd kind of spoken to for a few minutes. And then while the panel's kind of going on, like 2 minutes into it or something, I see this lady like sit down next to her. I'm like, okay. So the panel ends. I turn to this woman, and I'm like, that was a pretty good panel. And she goes, oh, yeah. It's like, I wanted to actually introduce myself or whatever. So she starts talking. She's got a Dungeons & Dragons podcast. And she goes, oh, this is my friend who's on the show with me. And it's a famous porn star by the name of Ryan Keeley. I'll look her up. Kyle, if there's nudity, don't show this.
What'd I say beforehand?
So this is...
IMDb. Yeah, let's look at her IMDb. So that's Ryan Keeley.
Yeah, so that's her. So I recognize her right away.
From porn.
So she's like, and I do this Dungeons & Dragons show with my friend here. And so she like reaches her hand out. She goes, hi, I'm Ryan. I go, I'm a fan. We end up talking about Dungeons & Dragons for probably like 40 minutes. Like, the next panel starts, and we're like, oh, shit, we should leave. So we walk out, and we're still out. My pal Mike and I are talking to both of them for like 40 minutes just about Dungeons & Dragons and stuff. So now I'm like, wow, now I've been to Los Angeles. Like, I met a real-life porn star. Like, this is... I checked everything off the list. Fully Hollywood,
yeah, you
baby.
Are Hollywood.
Fully, by the end of it, fully Hollywood. So the convention ended up being very, very fun. Everybody there was so nice, and I can't wait to go back again. Learn some good stuff as well, which is like why you go and things like that. But everybody there was super cool, and I really felt like I got a little bit of my confidence back because if you're not going talking to people, then you're not really doing anything. And I will say though, it was exhausting. Like, yeah, it was so fun, like jumping from, and then I'm in this session, so I meet like these three people, and then I'm in this session, so I meet these other people and stuff like that. And then when I'd have like a moment by myself just going down the escalator, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I'm so tired right now. But then I'd, run into somebody else I'd never met before, and it's like the energy gets back in you. So
Yeah.
it was cool, man. It was really cool. I'm really happy with how it went.
Andy, I got to say, I know I've been calling you Hollywood for the past week or so, but hearing you explain all those experiences, two things. One, couldn't make me happier. It sounds like an unbelievable trip, and I'm so happy to hear that. Like, I wish for the sake of our podcast listeners that I was making fun of you right now, but I just can't. I can't, because you're just radiating, Andy. You're radiating, and it's awesome to hear that. Like, that's just, it's such a cool experience, right, to be able to get to go do that. And
it was crazy.
I do have to say a little bit of, like, I told you so, though. Like, I know the exact feeling, but I'm like, when we were talking last week, I'm like, Andy, this is a convention made for you. Like, this is where you were supposed to be, right? I remember the day that you called me and asked if I want to start a podcast. I remember the day that you were like, "Hey, I'm doing this full time." I'm like, Andy, this is your convention. Like, you're gonna go own that shit, and you should have a blast while doing it. And it sounds like you did, Andy. I can't say how happy it makes me to hear that. I really am. That's awesome, dude. I'm just it was sitting here listening to you talk about that. I hope that the people listening like enjoy it as much as I do, because if they knew you as well as I do,
they'd turn this thing right up.
No, they would feel like how I feel, like happy for you that you got to experience that, because that's really awesome. And it's that final point that is more of a joke. You should tell our mother that, because our father used to say it all the time, and I say it all the time to him, and our mom always gives us a hard time. Like, when you're traveling, going to conventions and shit like that, like, people are always like, "Oh, you're going out to these dinners, blah, blah," like you're enjoying it. But it is an absolute grind. It's an absolute grind. It's very exhausting. So hopefully you got to catch up on some Z's after that.
A little bit. Yeah. It was a lot.
But that's awesome,
It was
Andy.
sick. It was so fun.
And
I'll tell you something, dude. So I've never, I've never seen so many like rich people before, even just like getting on the planes, walking through first class. Like, and I'll tell you, this is the thing about rich people. Their shoes are so clean. Like, they got, like, Jerry Ferrara. He had these Prada sneakers on that looked like they were fresh out of the box. When I was coming home, going from LA to Dallas, Fort Worth, I was walking through first class, and there was this family there that had two really little kids sitting up in first class, and their dad, cleanest shoes I've ever seen in my life. Again, sneakers. Like, rich people have clean shoes. That's how you can tell how much money somebody has.
I kind of agree with that take.
That's how you can tell. I swear to God. It's like you can tell if somebody's had Botox by looking at their hands, because their hands are always going to look old. You can tell if someone has money by how clean their shoes are.
My shoes that I'm wearing right now, filthy.
Because that's what we do, baby. That's what we do.
I have a pair that I'm going to break out for an event next week that I'm going to, that I'm not wearing until the event. For that not to look rich, but because these things got to be sparkling. I got a fresh pair. I bought them on Saturday of this week. I got a fresh pair, and I'm just sitting on them. Jonesing to wear them, but with this kind of weather, can't do it.
There's another thing that I've been thinking about, because, now that I've been to Los Angeles, which has one of the most famous, like, homeless populations of all time, like, people are always talking about how there's so many homeless people in Los Angeles. I think I'm working, like, a pretty good, and I have to talk to Ben about this, because Ben of Scheming and Dreaming, which is produced right here in this very studio, he is, like, obsessed with homeless people, and I'm kind of working out now a map of, like, what homeless people are like in different areas, like kind of like what you need to know about the homeless in whatever town you're getting. Because I've been in Baltimore, so if I can break it down for you, a map of the United States. Let me pull up a map, actually. Map of America.
Yeah, that works.
Oh, here we go. Whatever. So, fuck. You know what I'm realizing? I don't even know where anything is.
Right there. Yep.
So Maryland here. So Baltimore's homeless people are the most talkative homeless people. Like, and also the most casual because they're everywhere. Baltimore still has the most homeless people of any city that I've ever seen, and they're
Is that
very
factual, or you're just saying that's eye test?
That's eye test
Okay.
for me. I don't know if there is, but there's so many homeless people in there, and they are the most casual, like the most like regular, and just talkative. Like, and the thing about the homeless people in Baltimore is that they're homeless, but it always feels like they have errands to get to. Like
they're doing stuff.
Like they stay busy. The homeless stay busy in Baltimore. I mean, just to throw New York City in there, I'd say richest homeless people. Let's see. Where's Michigan? Detroit. The homeless people in Detroit are the most like wishy-washy, I'll say. They're the most likely who will be cool with you for a second and then on a dime fucking flip out just like crazy. So if you go to Detroit, that's what you want to watch out for there. Florida.
It's Florida.
I mean, how can you can't tell the difference between homeless and the regular residents. That's coming. That's just 100% true. And then I think the last one that I have on my list so far is California. Los Angeles, which the Los Angeles homeless people, they are like very kind of slow. Like they do look a little wacky, like they look like characters, like this is where you're seeing your guy who has like a crown made out of Bud Light cans and he's like covering himself in like a flannel blanket that he's wearing as like a cape. Like that's here. But they're all like very slow because there's like those shanty towns and things. I passed a few of those. So the LA homeless people, yeah, they're out and about in full force, but they're not like insane. They're almost like
they're
part
not
of
stabby.
They're not, well, I mean, I'm sure some of them are, but they're more like it feels like they're all on heroin, which they might be,
Probably,
what I mean?
yeah.
So that's what it feels like. And then Buffalo homeless people. What do you think about Buffalo homeless people?
I don't have that many run-ins with them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's one guy that lives downtown who is like, and this is so mean to say, but he's like the funniest homeless person I've ever seen. And the reason it being is there's this one light. I bet you people from Buffalo that drive in and out of the city a lot know where I'm talking about. It's like right kind of like by Swan Street, like right by the baseball stadium. And I've seen him there because I used to, drive to and from the Harbor Center 10 times a week, right? And he would literally like be in the road, like next to cars on his hands and knees, like praying to people, like, but like not in like a religious way. Like he'd be like as if like they were his emperor, like bowing down to them, like please, just $1 or whatever he would be saying. And that's really the only that's like you see a few of them like in other places, but that's like the one homeless guy that sticks out to me in Buffalo. Boston homeless people.
Ooh, let's add that to
again.
the mix.
I don't know like what the ratio of them are. I've only had a run-in with a few, but I've told this story on the podcast before. The famous game of 3-card monte.
Of course.
I'm just assuming that most of those people were homeless. Well, I know for a fact that 2 of them were because they're the ones that ended up trying to stab us. First stabbed the guy that owed us money, and then they,
Sure.
wishy-washy. Then the knives turned on us
Wishy-washy.
real quick when we wouldn't pay him full price for his stolen sunglasses, which I did not buy. I don't know if it's probably illegal to buy stolen goods, I would assume. So just clear my name of that. I was not the one purchasing, nor was I going to be the one to take the knife. But somebody was going to get stabbed in that scenario. So, I mean, I like, again, I did one time have a woman reach in my car. We were going to a country concert or something, and we were picking up like Black and Milds because we wanted like some cigars at the country concert. I don't know. We were probably in high school, and I had like a couple Black and Milds sitting on my front seat of my car, and was ready to go pick up like my buddy or meet everybody somewhere, however we were getting to the concert, and I was in the city of Buffalo, and a woman, I don't know if she was fully homeless or not, but like had like slippers on, and that was pretty much it. And she walked up to my car, my windows were open because it was summertime. She was like, "Do you have a lighter?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "You have Black and Milds?" And I was like, "I guess, yeah, but like I don't have a lighter." She was like, "Okay," and just reached in my car and took a Black and Mild and like
Nice.
walked away. And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess like all you."
If I were to add Buffalo into my list, I would say funniest homeless people. I honestly would. And then I forgot to Las Vegas, most violent homeless people.
Dude, Vegas scares the shit out of me. Like,
It's freaky deaky.
yeah,
And I'm telling you,
Vegas
those
people
guys
scare me.
They're
like,
the
a lot.
flip side of the Detroit coin all the time.
Yeah,
So that's a little homeless tourist
Yeah.
info for you.
you should make when you first started this story and you're like, I got to talk to Ben about this. I thought that you were gonna say that you're developing a content piece where we have Ben go like undercover as a homeless person for like a week and we just record the whole thing.
I mean, he might be out there doing it right now for all.
He's doing it for no content. Yeah.
But like, I know that he knows like cities that I haven't been to. He's interacted with homeless in like Cincinnati and Kansas City. I know that for sure. So I'd like to add those to the map. Like what
his
kind do you have
But
there?
he might see, but he is a little bit more wishy-washy himself. So he might have had encounters, more like angry encounters with homeless people that you would not have.
I guess
Because like
we'll see.
sometimes he might be boys with homeless.
Yeah.
Sometimes he might be pissed at the homeless.
Right. I don't know. We'll do a survey. We'll check the data.
Survey says.
Okay, this is what I really wanted to talk to you about. Did you see Michael Bublé's All-Star Game
Yeah.
interview?
Yeah, this was a while ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I just saw it
I can't
yesterday.
believe we never talked about this.
No.
Dude, hysterical. So, I don't mean to steal your thunder,
No,
but so
please.
people that don't know, the All-Star Game for the NHL was in Toronto this year, and what they did was they had like celebrity team captains. Justin Bieber was one, Will Arnett was one, Michael Bublé was one. Who was the other one? I don't even remember.
I have no idea.
And anyway, so they went out and drafted their teams like on the ice, and then the coaches all did like press conferences afterwards. And apparently on like from the podcast, Spit and Chicklets podcast, like they were talking about it when it happened.
Did you watch the interview with him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So, but like they were talking about it after like it happened, and pretty much in Michael Bublé's interview, he admitted like that he meant to macrodose mushrooms, and he accidentally hit himself with a microdose, and like he was on the ice in the middle of the hockey mecca, like drafting an all-star team, just like tripping balls.
Yeah.
And then he went into his interview like still kind of like very high, it seemed like, and just rambling on and on about like everything that he was exactly like I would assume somebody on mushrooms would be like explaining what he was feeling on the ice, like watching everything go down, just rambling, talking about like, dude, and it was hysterical. Like, one, I feel like there's certain leagues that would be like, do we need to like scrub this from the internet? In my opinion, for the NHL's perspective, gold publicity. Like that is, it couldn't have been better than what, like, dude, so funny. Yeah, it was buzzing on social media for a while.
Wow. I can't believe I missed it. I literally just I saw the whole press conference yesterday for the first time. It came up in my feed, and my God. I mean, I've never really been like a big Michael Bublé fan or anything, but he was so funny. And dude, the second you said like, I'm high on mushrooms, you could see like his pupils are. That guy is tripping during that conference, man. Like he is still high, but it was great to hear him talk. He's like, we are these teams. The fans are these teams, and if these teams are gonna succeed, it's on the fans, and if these teams are gonna fail, it's on the fans, and like all this stuff. And it was like, man, it was really cool. It was a little bit endearing, but it was also very funny because he said some story or whatever that his friend was asking him something, and the story ended with Michael Bublé being like, "Are you kidding me? I'm a superstar."
Yeah. Well, but dude, that's why it's funny because he like explained it. He was like, "Yeah, I meant to take a little mushrooms, and I accidentally took a lot. And like this is how I'm gonna act right now. So just so you're warned." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I'm fucking Michael Bublé. Who gives a shit?" Like 2 weeks before the All-Star game, and it didn't connect in my brain until after the fact. Like 2 or 3 weeks before the All-Star game, he was a guest on Spittin' Chicklets, and like I thought it was kind of weird at the time. I listened to the whole interview; it wasn't bad. Like he was good, like decent.
Is he Canadian?
Yeah, and like I guess he's a hockey fan, and
yeah, seems like it.
I thought it was a little bit weird that like he was on. They'll have like other celebrities and stuff on sometimes, like mostly like when it's tied to teams, like there's that one guy that's a huge St. Louis Blues fan. I can't think of his name right now, but like he would go on like when the Blues were on their cup run and stuff like that. And now they'll have him back on as kind of like a recurring guest, and they'll have like some other people, but mostly they expand just enough. But you know, a lot of their following is obviously such a hockey crazed group. Like they like to expand, but also they want to please their audience, right? Their majority audience, which is having current or former NHL personalities on, coaches, players, whatever it might be. So I thought it was a little weird that they had him on, and they talked about hockey and like all this stuff. But then it dawned on me after this whole thing with the All-Star game that like his PR team probably was like, "Hey, Spittin' Chicklets, will you have Michael Bublé on?" to kind of like warm him up to a hockey audience before he was going to go out there for the All-Star game, because like I maybe some people knew he was a hockey fan, but like outside of being a musician, he probably, in my opinion, wasn't that. And maybe I'm living under a rock, but I didn't think he was that well connected to like the hockey community. Right. So it dawned on me like that's probably why. And yeah, so and that's why I thought, like, again, you bring a guy in who maybe a lot of people know for music but don't connect to the sport of hockey, and now you have him saying this hysterical shit up on the press conference, surrounded by like some of the best athletes in the world.
I thought I was in Blades of Glory. I forgot he said that.
That's what I mean. Like just hysterical.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, I didn't realize Michael Bublé was such like a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think
he's a real fella. You know, he's just one of the guys. That's Michael Bublé, baby.
And that way he kind of talked about that in a podcast. Like he just likes the sport, man.
I really liked what you said about the NHL and like how other leagues maybe would like really try to shut this down.
Yeah, like the NFL.
I mean,
would
for
probably
one thing, let me say Michael Bublé played it excellently, because if he hadn't come out and said, "I'm on mushrooms right now," the story would be like, does Michael Bublé have a drug problem? Yeah. Was he on drugs during this interview? And then it's like all this bullshit or whatever. This was perfect, and you're so right, because the NHL, especially as they are trying to grow as a league, I think that they are in the midst of carving out this market for themselves where they, and I know this term may be a little outdated, but they are the most for the boys league in all of sports, bar none.
Yeah.
Because that's what hockey, even to a certain extent at the NHL level, because it is smaller than the other two major leagues by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah,
it still feels
3.
What's the other one?
MLB.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Sorry, baseball.
Because it's big four, the big four professional sports.
Right. No, baseball needs a shine for sure. That's on me. But I don't remember what my point is now that I forgot about Major League Baseball. But anyways, the NHL, good for them.
Well, just that they're the smallest of the four.
They're the smallest, yeah.
Trying to...
But like they still feel like, it's like when you start watching a TV show that then becomes huge.
Yeah.
Like if you started watching Game of Thrones, like season 1, and then it becomes this thing. Like right now, the NHL is in like Game of Thrones season 2-ish era or something, I would say, where like the people who are in on it, it's almost like they have this awesome secret just to themselves, and it's they're on their way. They're carving out such a great niche for themselves.
The tough thing about it, and it kind of goes back to like what I was saying about Chicklets with having Michael Bublé on, is like baseball is a great example of this. Like, baseball, there's so many like purists in baseball, right? They like don't want to see rule changes. They want everything to be, the same because it's America's game,
right?
And baseball can kind of get away with staying that way for the most part because they have such a huge following. Whereas, like, the NHL has a long history, and there's a lot of hockey fans that are, like, NHL purists. But in the league's mind, they're like, yeah, we have, like, a lot of these fans, but we still need to be so much bigger. So I think they're willing to take a little bit more risk and stuff like that. Like, even what they did in kind of following in the NBA with TNT and bringing on, like, Paul Bissonnette to the panel and those guys. And, like, dude, Paul Bissonnette is a funny dude.
Yeah.
But he is, like, unhinged. Like, I can't believe that, like, he, like, is a national, like, broadcaster. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that I feel like a lot of other sports would allow that to happen. But on the flip side of that, a lot of, like, the big broadcaster guys, like Jim Nantz is a perfect example. Like, people like that, like, now they're going on these podcasts, like Part of My Take and, like, the Barstool shows and stuff like that. Because they're like, dude, these guys are so much fun. They're exactly like how we are as humans, but when we hop on and there's 100 million people watching on their TV, we have to button it up or whatever. We can't talk like that. So, but then they're I feel like it makes them feel more comfortable. Like, all right, I'm still not going to act like this on the broadcast, but when I'm not on the broadcast, I can go, on and talk freely and swear or say whatever, make jokes that you wouldn't make on a broadcast. So I think, like, I'm curious. It's fun. If the NHL can figure out a way to take advantage of it enough, I think that long term, like, they will really start to not surpass other leagues, but really gain popularity because, like, and people say it all the time, but it's true. Like, kids nowadays, they don't watch full games. They watch highlights, right? That's all they do. They go on YouTube or they go on, like, the website and they watch 4-minute clips from the night before of all the best goals or whatever. And, like, those are the players that are scoring those goals are who they're fans of. A lot of people aren't even so much, like, young fans, like, huge fans of teams, especially not their hometown teams. Like, they become fans of other teams because they're watching only highlights of these high-skilled players, right? They're not watching, like, full games and stuff like that. It's all social media based. It's all YouTube, right? So that's difficult for the NHL because it's so gate driven, right? Like, the NHL doesn't have these massive TV contracts like other sports have. So they need butts in seats to make their money, right? And so I don't know, gaining popularity like that, I think is, and again, I don't know. I'm sure people still frown on it because they're like, oh, they're gonna gain popularity because of a drug reference, like but it's like, dude, like, outside of, like, 90% of people, not 90%, outside of, like, the 10% of people that, and I'm advocate of not a drug guy, but at the same time, like, I think it's funny, like, when stuff like that happens, like, I'm not going to, ridicule or judge other people for doing it. So outside of the 10% of people that just have, like, a stick up their ass kind of thing, like, 90% of the people are living like Michael Bublé. Like, there's a lot of people that probably,
I wish I was living.
Well, there's
like
a lot of people that probably were like that, whether it be mushrooms or not, but they're probably like, yeah, like, I was going to this event and I, went to take a little edible or something, and next thing you know, I bit off a little more than I can chew, and I was at this event stoned to the gills, and, like, people relate to that shit. People think it's funny.
True.
Like, again, it's not like he's harming anything. It's not like he's driving around.
No,
like,
look at that smile.
That's what I mean.
Look,
like,
what a great time.
Just
he's still having it.
enjoying himself in the city of Toronto in the hockey mecca, just doing a little micro macro dosing.
Yeah, there you go. He's doing all right. Yeah, I just thought that was such a fun video. It was very, very cool. Yeah, I didn't realize it was a while ago.
No, but we never talked about it. Again, I don't know why it's something I wouldn't have brought up. Probably because I don't think of anything other than the fact that, I'm usually exhausted. Your energy has really brought my energy up today, Andy.
Well, I got the Celsius.
You got that Celsius. You want to do the Who Win of the Week?
I would love to.
Dude, I'm fired up.
Honestly, I'm emotional about this one, and I don't know which way. I don't know how it's gonna fall. This week's Who Would Win of the Week is Mark Summers versus Alton Brown. It's a host with the most off. Which of these hosts is the host with the most? This is so tough, dude. Especially for
Alton Brown is from Good Eats.
Yes, that's one of the things. There's a specific group of people, Matthew and I are one of them, who know both these guys as the 1-2 punch that was 7 o'clock on the Food Network. You have Unwrapped at 7, or excuse me, Good Eats at 7, Unwrapped at 7:30. Now, Mark Summers also very famous because he hosted Guts on Nickelodeon. I think he also hosted Legends of the Hidden Temple, which was a fucking sick show. Alton Brown, I think he hosted Top Chef, or maybe he does, but also Iron Chef America, which is fucking no joke, dude. This is a real... And listen, Alton Brown... I've had feelings about him in the past because I know he said shit about like chicken wings and buffalo and things like that. And, you know, Alton Brown, sometimes maybe he can come off as a little snooty, whereas Mark Summers is the people's host. He's the Michael Bublé of hosting, in the sense that he's like, you know, just a regular ass dude.
See, I kind of feel like I'm drawn immediately towards Alton Brown more because he kind of looks like our father.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just right off the rip.
Definitely
there.
the same hairline.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And glasses.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
just those animal instincts in us, you know?
And talk about animal instincts. I think Alton Brown does have those. I think that Alton Brown, when push comes to shove, he's shoving.
Oh, my boy shoves.
And I just don't know if Mark Summers has that same killer instinct as Alton does. I mean, especially, you know, Mark Summers, such a great host. I mean, one of the best hosts in television history, in my opinion. But Alton Brown, I mean, even to host Iron Chef, like, I know he's not an Iron Chef, but just to host that show, like, that is so intense.
I agree. That was like my biggest thing too that I was gonna come. Like, I don't even know that I knew he was the host of Iron Chef, but that's
a real deal.
So do they still have the guy that goes like wah, like that?
Yeah,
guy that
yeah,
opens
yeah.
the baskets, but he just like tees it up.
Yeah, that guy. I forget what his like position is or whatever.
He's
in
like
the
the
show.
master. He's like the something. He's like the head Iron Chef.
There is a name.
He's got a
He does have a designation.
Google
It's
his
not
designation.
Emperor, but it's something
Emperor
like
Supreme.
It's something like Emperor Supreme.
What do they?
Iron Chef America cast?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, chairman. He's the chairman.
Chairman of the board. That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Dude.
Also,
look at fucking Alton Brown.
Yeah, see, look at this fucking shit. Can you imagine if Unwrapped had one promo that looked like that, where it's like a bag of Cheetos and like
That looks like an advertisement for Hell's Angels. Is
Yeah,
what it looks
just
like.
wouldn't. It just would not fit. I think I see Ryan Keeley somewhere in the back of that photo, actually. But it wouldn't fit. Mark Summers. I mean, as a being of pure light, is that actually going to help him in this fight? I mean, this kind of breakdown really sort of...
Wait, that's not the same two guys, right? The guy in the top right picture and the guy in the middle bottom picture in the middle aren't the same guys, right?
What, this guy and this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Really?
Yeah, he's just bald.
See,
This is just many years later. I mean, look at Alton.
I was going to say, but like when he had hair, he would not have been fit to be the chairman of the Iron Chef.
I think he might have had...
No.
I think you're
That
right,
guy
actually.
up there, Mark Dacascos, looks way more like approachable than the chairman of the Iron Chefs.
That's true. But the chairman doesn't smile. That's one of his things.
But he's up there. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean,
Ugh.
dude, I was leaning towards Alton Brown to begin with. Reason being, like, I'm not chirping. Unwrapped was actually the superior show. Mm-hmm. Like, you were happy to catch the ass end of Good Eats, but you were really, because you were tuning in for Unwrapped, I think. Did you agree with that?
I do agree, but also you have to give even more props to Good Eats, because again, it was such a calculated show. Like, it really did. It felt like there was a scientific element to it. Like, even if there wasn't, it felt like you were watching like almost like an educational program, but not in a bad way, like in a very exciting way.
But that was kind of like what I was getting at. Is
Alton
like,
Brown, he's calculated.
Mark Summers, literally Mark Summers was like in the thick of it because he was like touring the facilities and stuff, But Alton Brown was like in the thick of it. Like he wasn't just watching, the food. Like he wasn't just watching shit get made from behind a glass pane or in like a white jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So he didn't contaminate the Smarties.
No.
He was like. He was getting down into it.
Alton had boots on the ground.
He had boots on the ground. He was putting food in his mouth.
He was in the arena. He was in the Iron Chef arena.
He was in the octagon.
He was in the octagon.
So to me, it's got to be Alton Brown. Like Mark Summers could never make that face. He could never be on an advertisement like that.
And honestly, if he was, it would break our hearts.
Yeah,
because he's such a.
And listen, sometimes that's just what happens, right?
Yeah.
Think about Daniel Radcliffe. Think about how hard it was for him to get. Think about how hard it was for him to get another role. Or Hermione. What's Hermione good?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson got blacklisted for being sweet little Hermione. Poor Mark Summers. Listen, sometimes roles stick with you, and Unwrapped is going to stick with you.
Sometimes good guys do finish last.
Yep.
And this might be one of those situations.
Alton Brown, you have been crowned this week's Iron Chef.
Alton Brown, you're the Iron Chef, baby. You're the Iron Host.
Lock my vote in.
It does break my heart a little bit. I mean, I respect Alton so much, but you just hate to see Mark Summers lose.
I agree.
Because he's such a beautiful boy.
Yeah. You know what, though? Here's the thing, is that at the end of the day, if Mark Summers didn't make it in television, he would have been one hell of a realtor with that smile.
Goddamn right.
You look at Alton Brown. Alton Brown had one choice and one choice only. He was either going to make it in the biz or he was going to be a homeless person in Los Angeles. And look at him now.
Yeah, look at him now.
So if that's fight or flight right there, I'm all in on Alton Brown.
It has to be Alton. Fuck. This is a heart-wrenching one for me almost. This is a tough battle.
Vote on that on Instagram on Friday. That was this week's Who Would Win of the Week.
Who Would Win of the Week.
Clean sweep, Alton Brown over Mark Summers. Shout out to the Food Network. Not anymore. Shout out to the old Food Network.
Yeah.
Dude,
Like, although Beat Bobby Flay, that show does rule.
Yeah. And also, like, I was having this conversation the other day, actually, with our mother, of course. Bobby Flay, like, ultimate badass. Like,
he's a real deal, dude. I mean, here's the thing. I'm an Emerald man through and through.
Yeah, bam!
Emerald built the Food Network. And when Bobby Flay first came on the scene, I'm like, this guy's no Emerald. But you know what? Talk about a prince of the realm. Talk about a true heir to the throne. Bobby Flay.
Does Bobby Flay have his own restaurants?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've never been to a Flay.
I don't think I've ever been to one.
Because we've been to an Emerald.
Yeah, and I don't know.
First time I ever had red snapper.
I don't know.
With risotto.
I don't know if...
I was way too young to be enjoying it as much as I did.
I don't know if... I mean, restaurant-wise, I'm sure Bobby Flay, it's got to be killer. I mean, the guy's a barbecue genius, right? That's what he does. He's the grill master of all grill masters. But Emerald, what that guy does to food is...
He caresses it. He nurtures it.
He makes love to it, and it's incredible.
I will say there's nothing that gets me fired up more than when somebody goes on Beat Bobby Flay and they call out Bobby Flay and they're like, what are we cooking? And they're like, steaks or something like that. And it's like, this dude is a savage. Like,
You're nuts.
Yeah, and then they lose. But
yeah,
people
of course.
do beat Bobby Flay.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
But he's good.
I had a thought. On the old Food Network. Dude, like, I know, like, they have all, like, the newer shows and stuff, but the old Halloween cake contests were so fucking cool, dude.
There was that one, what the fuck was it called, when they would have to move the cake from the table to the thing,
yeah.
And you would see sometimes people's cakes did not make it.
That was like pre-Cake Boss, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I think so. But there might have been some crossover.
Like
also, have we done Ace of Cakes versus Cake Boss as a who would win? I think so, because I'm Ace of Cakes all the way. Cake Boss, I mean, that guy can.
Yeah. What's the guy's name from Bar Rescue? We should get him in the mix.
Robert Irvine.
Yeah, I like that guy.
That might not be. That might be a different guy. Because Robert Irvine
Look
was
up Bar Rescue.
Robert Irvine was Dinner Impossible. Bar Rescue was not on Food Network.
No,
right?
I know. I'm just
okay. Then it's not the guy I'm thinking of.
That guy.
Yeah, this guy.
Dude, look how many hands he has.
He's got a lot of hands. He's got fingers and a lot of pies. He's got the most hands. I walked in and I said, "Wow, that's a lot of hands." John,
what's up, brother? I can't believe I'm a little upset you didn't get that reference. Kyle, did you get that reference? Fuck, dude.
Sorry, man.
You got to look up this guy when you get home. Named Sketch.
Mm-hmm.
He's a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's the funniest guy of all time. Like, this doesn't come as news to probably a lot of people. Andy, this kid is he's comedy gold. He's comedy gold. I can't even explain it without, like.
No need. I'll check him out.
Yeah, but he just, what's up, brother? Like, that's like his, dude. Unreal.
Bit of a catchphrase.
Yeah.
You ever think about if you had a catchphrase, what it would be?
Other than these pretzels are making me thirsty. Yes, dude. Oh, my God. Andy.
I feel like that could be it right there. Yes, dude. That's Matthew. Steve-O, which is too close to
no,
Steve-O's,
the thing that
though.
I probably say the most, word that I probably say the most is beauty. Like, whenever anybody says anything to me, I'm just like, beauty. Even in,
Right.
like, a professional setting, sometimes I just be like, beauty. That's perfect, beauty. Do you remember when we were growing up, our mom was a teacher. I think everybody knows that by now.
Mm-hmm.
And she had that student. Maybe that wasn't in her class, but was in a classroom, like, near her. And every morning, when the student saw her, would say, Canada, home of the Moose and the Maple Leaf.
Yep.
Dude, I say that all the time. And it's just recently dawned on me that people that hear me say it are probably like, what the fuck is this kid talking about? And I think it all is, like, 30% of my thoughts are Canada, home of the Moose and the Maple Leaf.
Wow, that's a good chunk.
Yeah. It's way too high.
Yeah. For a guy that doesn't have a lot of thoughts, that's a big
up
margin.
there. Like, so that, internally, that could be part of my catchphrase.
That's pretty good.
Canada, home of the Moose and the Maple Leaf.
Pretty good.
What about you?
Maybe
That showbiz, baby?
yeah, probably probably something like this town will eat you up and spit you out. Probably something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
If I had a catchphrase, probably be something like that. But maybe like curious. That's curious.
That's Ted Lasso's thing. You can't
Is it
be
really?
curious. Yeah, you never seen the whole Ted Lasso curious? Like,
No.
Andy,
Fucking Ted Lasso stealing my shtick.
you want tears to come to your eyes?
No.
And maybe people, dude, this scene epitomizes the whole Ted Lasso thing. And I actually haven't, I watched most of the second season. I didn't finish it. I was on Delta, had like the first 4 episodes. I watched them. But I watched the first season. And it's like when the team like finally starts playing good, whatever, he's down at the local watering hole because they're in wherever they are. He's at the pub. And he's there and the owner there. And the owner is like this woman. And she's the one who originally hired Ted because she got the team from her ex-husband, like in the divorce or something like that, and she wanted to ruin the team. So she thought Ted, and of course it turns into this whole like heartfelt story about how he does it.
It's like Major
So like
League.
I think it's like one of the last episodes of the first season, and they're in the pub, and the ex-husband is like they're talking about darts or something. They're like sitting there like bantering, like the ex-husband's kind of like taking shots at Ted, and Ted's kind of like, being Ted Lasso, like letting him roll off, like just making like weird wisecracks, funny little wisecracks, like and like he picks up a dart or something and he like throws it and he's like, oh, I like darts. And the ex-husband's like, how about a match? Like if and Ted's like, yeah, and he's like, all right, what, like 10,000 pounds or and he's like, oh, that's a little rich for my blood. How about if you win, I'll let you like set the starting lineup for like the championship game or whatever it was. If I win, you're not allowed back around the team again or something like that. And everybody's like, oh, everybody in the pub's like around like, oh, and the ex-wife's like, Ted, no. And he's like, deal. And he pulls out custom sleeve of darts like out of his pocket. Textbook like TV scene.
Yeah.
And Ted Lasso like is pretty like says something. He's like, "Oh, you're pretty good at darts." Like blah blah blah. You know what? I just remembered. Like I'm left-handed. Boom! Throws a dart left-handed, nails the bullseye. So they're in like this intense match, and like Ted needs like 2 16s and a triple 20 to win, or like 2 whatevers and a bullseye, 2 triple 20s and a bullseye, something crazy to win. And he gives this whole speech about how like be curious, not judgmental. It's a great heartfelt scene of television. You should watch it. It's fantastic. But he's like, he's like, I saw the sign on the one day when I was dropping my kid off to school. It said, be curious, not judgmental. And I didn't really understand it. But then it dawned on me, like all the people in my life, my whole life growing up until now that like made fun of me or like hated or bullied me or whatever, like they weren't curious. Like they wouldn't ask questions like, Ted, have you played a lot of darts? And he was like, yeah. He was like, every Friday or every Tuesday after school from the time I was 12 to the time my like father passed away, blah, blah, blah. And then he like says like Ted or something like that and like talking about why he's so good at darts. And then he's got like the 2 triple 20s and all he needs is the bullseye. And he goes, barbecue sauce, boom, throws the dart, bullseye, and the whole bar erupts. Great, fantastic scene. I'm sure, again, everybody's probably seen it, and I did horrible at describing it. I'm pissed that I went through the whole description, but I had to.
Yeah, of course. No, it was worth it.
Barbecue sauce.
Lovely.
Andy?
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I got to say again, can't explain to you enough how happy I am to hear about how much you enjoyed the LA trip. I said to you this last week, but I'll say it again. Like, regardless from a work perspective of all that, I think like just being able to be there and experience that, and like you said, test yourself a little bit, get outside your comfort zone, and like come back and be like, dude, I had so much fun. Like it's just awesome to hear. You know what I mean?
It was
all those
such a
things
relief that it went well, and luckily, like, yeah. Most of my jokes landed, so that was always good.
If you can shoot 50%, like that's a great number.
Yeah, and brother, I was shooting a lot more than 50.
From
the field. I was hitting fucking reverse layups and shit,
making them rain.
Baskets I didn't even know I could make.
The Zach Edey of podcasting, they call him.
Sure.
Andy, love you.
I love you too. Let's get out of here. Thanks, folks.